The drone that I love has just got even better. The DJI Avata 2 is finally here. It's literally just arrived, so I thought I would share the entire experience with you. So in this video, I'm gonna go through everything that I've got with the DJI Avata 2 Fly More combo. Plus, unfortunately, I've had to upgrade the controller, but more on that shortly. However, over the next few months, there's gonna be a lot of videos being made on this channel about this drone. So if you have any questions at all, any accessories that come out, just let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to try them and make the videos for you. Nice little bag that it all comes in. This is fresh. Who smells things? Don't know. This is nice. Okay, I know a bag isn't that important, but this is really good. I never really thought about it with the original Avata, but anytime I wanted to take that out, I had to take a bag with me to put everything in. Most of the time that was my camera bag, so I had to take things out of it to go out. But having its own little bag that it comes in means that you can just throw it in the car, use it, put it back in the car. It's all in one compartment. This is just... Thanks, DJI. That's really nice. It's the simple things in life, isn't it, that just make you appreciate it. So we'll go through all the small accessories to begin with first, because there's a lot about the drone that we need to talk about. In here, we have the Allen key. This will be used anytime you smash a propeller and you need to replace it, the same as with the original Avata. USB-C cable, I'm guessing this will be used for any updates or charging the Avata. We have a full set of propellers should you need to replace them. I actually expected these to be larger than what they actually are. It seems that they've put them in individual packets so you know which motor they go on, but surely there's a better way of doing that rather than using loads of plastic. My opinion, you know, saving the world and all that shizzle. We also have the quick start guide for the Avata, but we don't need that. In here, we've got a USB-A to USB-C cable, an additional forehead pad to go on the goggles if the lenses are a little bit too close to your eyes, and 2 corrective lenses to go inside the goggles should you need them for your eyesight. Moving on to the next part of the bag, we have the motion controller version 3. Like before, you've got the accelerator and the record button. You've got a function button here, but I'm also guessing this will control the camera angle. You've got the emergency brake and hover button, a power button when you need to turn it on and off. And with the joystick, you can now do easy acro, meaning that you can flip and roll the drone just by moving the joystick from one side to the other. Until this came out, anytime you wanted to fly an FPV drone and you wanted to do any kind of acro movements, the only option you had was to use a FPV controller and learn how to fly manual mode. But with this, it makes things a lot easier and minimizes the limitations that you have as a beginner FPV pilot. Now, obviously, it's got one of these little wrist tethers for safety reasons, so make sure you use it, kids. Next up, we have the batteries and the little charging port that it comes with. These batteries are very similar to what's on the Mavic 3, a similar kind of design, but with the charging port, it makes things a lot easier and it gives you somewhere to store them. A single Avata 2 battery will give you around 22 to 23 minutes, according to DJI. Obviously, these 2 extra batteries are only available in the Fly More kit, but I highly recommend you get the Fly More kit because you will go through batteries fairly quickly. You can never have enough batteries when it comes to FPV flying. This is the thing which I was most looking forward to when it comes to the new Avata. You have a lot more control over the actual lenses inside, and obviously like the Integras, you can just fold away the antennas when you're finished with the goggles. The 2 things that I really like about them is the fact that they're really small. They're a very similar size to what the Fat Shark goggles are, and the Fat Shark goggles are the ones that I used to use back when I used to build FPV drones. I can't tell you the amount of times I've gone out with my Avata and forgot the battery for the goggles. It's the most painful experience ever. But these have an internal battery, so there's no chance of that happening to me ever again. They also have the usual micro SD card slot in the back, something I've never really used on the old goggles. However, these, I think you can record the on-screen display, so will come very, very useful when it comes to recording these videos for you guys. And maybe it was just me who thought this, but I thought the goggles actually lifted up when they were on your face, so I thought you could put them on and then just lift them up out of the way, because obviously it's held onto your head around here. However, that's not the case. Maybe that was just me wishful thinking, but you know. And now onto the most important part of the entire package, the drone itself. So first impressions just from looking at it. Comparing it to the Avata 1, the propellers are the same size. However, obviously now we've only got 3-bladed propellers rather than 5-bladed propellers. How is that gonna affect flight performance? We ain't sure. I have my suspicions they'll be a lot better, but we will find out in due course. The wingspan, I guess you could say, of the Avata 2 is slightly more than what the Avata 1 is. Will that make it a lot more stable than what the Avata was? In fact, I think one of the reasons they've done that is looking at the two of them, a lot of the body for the Avata is sat on top of the propellers, whereas with the Avata 2, it's sat in between the propellers. This kind of layout is something that I've seen very often in the FPV world. And I suspect that this is a huge upgrade to what this is. Now, I'm so excited to try this. Like, what's the weather like today? Windy, but dry. It might happen. I'm excited. For me, one of the biggest talking points about this drone is the new camera. With the Avata 1, the camera was okay, but it just didn't give me what I wanted. This still did 4K, the same as what this does. But when it came back to looking at my image and color grading it, one of the things I hated about it was the dynamic range, or the lack of the dynamic range. Whereas this, obviously I've not tried it, so I can't say firsthand, but it can record in D-Log, very similar to what the Mavics can, therefore giving me a sneaking suspicion that this will have great image quality and be much easier when it comes to grading. The USB port and the microSD card slot is now in a much more accessible position. It's now just on the side of the drone rather than inside one of the ducts. And if for any reason you run out of storage on your microSD card, you now have 46 gigabytes worth of storage space built into this drone. It's no massive amount, however, it's much better than the 20 gigabytes that you got with the original Avata. I almost forgot, and that's because the item I want to talk about isn't actually here. Something you're probably thinking is, how do I charge it? DJI do not send you an actual charger to charge your Avata. You can obviously plug a USB cable straight into the drone to be able to charge it, but that actually takes a long time. So how do you solve that? From DJI, you can buy a 65-watt charger. It is a little bit more money though. If you have a Mavic, you can use the charger that came with that. Or an alternative that I use is this Anker charger. I'll leave a link down below where I got it from. And this gives you enough power as long as you're using a 100-watt cable as well. Again, if you want a link to this, I'll leave it down below. Moving on to one of the only accessories that I've bought with the Avata 2. The FPV controller version 3. This is pretty much the exact same as what the version 2 was, apart from it's a little bit lighter and it doesn't have the massive antenna which you have to flip out on the back. So why did I end up buying this when I've already got pretty much the same thing? Well, last week I was really reluctant to actually buy the new Avata. And that's because the new Avata is only compatible with the new motion controller, the new FPV controller, and the new goggles. So even if you have all of the latest stuff from the Avata 1, it's still a costly upgrade to go to the Avata 2. Whereas to buy the Avata 2 separately, it's much more affordable at like £460. So that leads me on to the big question. How does the DJI Avata 2 perform against its younger brother, the Avata 1? That's what I want to get to the bottom of. This looks very impressive, but have I just wasted over £1,200? If you want to find out the answer to that, make sure you subscribe to the channel and keep an eye out for that video. If you have any questions about any of this that I've gone through, let me know in the comments and I'll try and answer it or make a video to help you. And with that, I'm off to fly the Avata. Laters.